I have one elder in the building, an elder who is an elder indeed, and his bloodline is legendary. His bloodline is a national treasure and legacy. So when I say Enahoro, you already know that name, what it signifies. It signifies our breakaway from colonial rule, our breakaway from being controlled to freedom. Even though some people we are still abusing it and still behaving like we're under colonial rule, but that's what gave us this freedom. Nobody's coming to tie our hands again and shipping us into any country to make us look the way like we are not worthy to be alive. Well, the beautiful thing about this man is, when you say best of both worlds, he is the best of both worlds. And what do I mean? What I have as my guest today, Dr. Mike Enahoro, is a sports administrator and analyst. He's a founding member of the LMC. Remember I said to you guys that he's the ancestor of the LMC? Yes, that's the reason why. He's also the former chairman of the FCT Athletics. For those who are listening across the globe, FCT is the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, which is Abuja. He's also the founder of Kids and Play After School Initiative. They are the ones that discovered Rosemary Chukuma. So, and he likes to say that he's just a sports fan. But with all these titles and more that I've not mentioned, does that look like somebody you would describe as just? I don't think so. Guys, if you have that time, I need you to hang out with us as we discuss what happened in Tokyo and the way forward, chatting the way forward, and also look at the LMC and try to see how we can improve. Guys, make welcome with me, Dr. Mike Enahoro. Dr. Mike Enahoro, good morning and welcome to the Sports Buffet on Alegota TV Radio.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. It's a lovely Monday morning. It's not easy to see your kind of man hang out with a small boy like me. I used to be a troublemaker to the LMC too. So in your era, I think you guys will be like, what's in the worry this boy safe? What is his problem? So how are you? How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well. I reminisce. I remember those days. It was the formation of something that was new and exciting, and the press was not sure that we were not going to toe the line of the same drama-filled previous league boards. So those were the days. Yes, they were exciting times.
When you look back at your journey in sports, what are some of the moments that you say to yourself, okay, I got this one right, I got that one right, but hey, I shouldn't have done this like this, I shouldn't have done this like this?
I think the honest truth is when one looks back at the things that we set out to do in sports, my goal was just, as a fan, to make sure that
recording in progress.
I put my money where my mouth is and tried as much as possible to not be on the fence anymore, just criticizing. I wanted to go in there and contribute mine because I got the opportunity of starting in sports as a child. My mother was an athlete in Nigeria. Janet Mbeke used to run in the quartet of the 4x100. And she was a very good middle distance runner as well. So I grew up in the stadium, and if one was born into that environment and then being a young international, trying and playing football at a young age at one of the highest levels one can play, and then going abroad and then being a professional player in Cyprus, and then going off to school to be catered for under a scholarship, I knew the difference. I had played the professional game and I saw the way the game was administered. And then coming back to Nigeria, I found out that we were still doing things same way as I was when I was a child. And I can say, you can say so much in this country. We have all lived through it. Things should have changed for the better for now. The structure in administration, the capacity in being able to deliver things properly for the name of the sports that we all want to be part of should have been improved way, way better. So that's why I decided to set up Kids and Play, to be able to do the simple things. Play is positive learning advancement in youth. So let the kids have play. Let it be a structured play. That we are also engendering the fact that children should be children, protected and allowed to show the capacities that they can be endowed with, but giving them leadership skills as they go forward. Not everybody's going to end up being an athlete, but in your youth, you will be trained with discipline. You will be trained with the capacity of being able to organize yourself. You will learn to work in teams. You will know exactly what focus means, and you will be able to understand what going through adversity and coming out on the other side means. So that's the goal. But I think I made certain directional changes in my life, which are the low points. The FCT opportunity, being humbly asked by the director, Delichi Kwanyedema, to reform FCT athletics. My goal was to make FCT contend and be better than Delta. Delta was the reference point then.
Yeah.
And it's still the reference point today. So the whole idea of having this fantastic Moshood Abiola Stadium and looking at the changes that were going to be made in Area 10 and being able to do certain things around Kuje because they were building a stadium then, and saying, let us get more people involved in sports. And especially athletics that could take on more kids and more young people. That vision didn't carry through. I didn't play the politics because when I saw that the politics needed to be played, I decided to step out of it, which was wrong. With the LMC, I also felt that we tried as much as possible to hold the league together, but we shouldn't have pranced to the whole South guy will rule this time around, then you have to pass it on to the North, let the North rule and run the place, and because that's the truth. Let's not kid ourselves. Ndukai Rabo was doing a fantastic job. He could have stayed another term. He could have stayed another term and finished that term. He could have. We needed structure in the league. You don't. Richard Scudamore stayed for almost 4 terms because of the work he was doing.
Absolutely.
In the EPL. Yes, he was doing a fantastic job in the EPL. Our current FIFA president, how long was he sitting down in UEFA? I mean, so you needed structure to bring the league to become a viable, independent environment. But this is Nigeria. The clamoring will start, and this is no deference, no disrespect to my brother and my friend Shehu Diko. I think we should have handed Shehu a better organization that was self-sufficient, that was self-funding, that was self-growing, that he could have taken that content and run with it easier than he's doing right now.
Okay, so
you shouldn't have branched to the politics.
So
you shouldn't have branched to the politics, and so those are my low moments in sports administration.
Good.
And then the election that brought in Gazelle, I was a member to because I represented the FCT, and I was very embarrassed, and I was asked if I wanted to contest. And I looked at the whole thing and I saw the way the politics was going, and I said I prefer to stand aside because I didn't want to go into the murky waters of that. And now look at my decision and look at where we are today. So again, I will call myself out. Yes, I don't need anybody to do it for me. I will call myself out. And these are the low points of my sporting administration phase right now.
In Nigeria, it is almost impossible. Guys, you've heard it. This is not a private conversation. This is a global conversation. It is almost impossible for a full-blooded Nigerian to come out and call themselves out and say, oh, I'm culpable here. I let myself down, I let my nation down. And moments like these, not only are they teachable moments, they are also reasons for me to have hope that, okay, good, we're turning the corner. Though the wheel might be turning slowly, but it is better to turn slowly than for it to be static. So let's get into the conversation. It's already bared himself naked before us all, so we're not here to stab him, but we're here to look for solution. But you know, they say the catapult effect. You have to go back to go forward. You have to pull really backward to go forward. In 2012, we went to the Olympics, and when we came back from London, we said we came back with the spirit of the Olympics, and then we brought in another Mr. I think then it was Abdullahi that was there. And then in 2016, we had Solomon Dalong. Solomon Dalong, who asked us what was our Olympic team doing in America, who sent them go there. That was his comment. And we went against all odds. We won a football bronze medal, Samson Siasa. And then we came back and they were treated like, some refugees who were deported. And we learned from that. And then Sunday Dari came in. What was interesting was when Sunday Dari became a minister, everybody said, oh, he's being a journalist. He understands from this side. He would know what the athletes are facing. And then he started picking people, Mary Yali here, Daniel Amokashi there, and people felt like, okay, look, he surrounded himself with people who's been there before. And because of that, they will give him the right advice and decisions will be made. But then where the war started cracking. For me, from the very beginning, I felt this man doesn't know. That was my opinion, and I think I'm entitled to it. I said this man doesn't know what he's doing because of the way he was going about stadium and the rest. Then we came with this adoption of athletes that was talked about for a very long time, and then the adoption was done 2 weeks, 3 weeks to the Olympics, and all of those shenanigans that went down. Now, what I need to know is there a course on Nigeria that we can never, ever get a sports minister that can really toe policy lines, that can really toe the lines of setting up structures that would sustain Nigerian sports over the course of, say, 10, 20, 25 years?
I don't think that's a bit fair to the gentlemen. All these gentlemen that we call sports ministers. I had the pleasure of working very close with
Abdullahi.
Bolaji Abdullahi. I had the pleasure of working very close because then we were working together on the Presidential Committee on Job Creation. And in our group, which was sports and looking at the translation of the contributive factor and potential of sports as an economic driver, taking it away from the social platform where it is right now to the economy, and centralizing it, we were looking at what needed to be done then. So I saw the handicap these guys have coming in. And the handicap comes in the laws of Nigeria. In the laws of Nigeria. The way Nigeria sees sports. So regardless of the goal of sports being a nation binder, a platform that levels everyone, and a platform that holds all of us together when Super Eagles are playing or someone wearing the Nigerian flag is representing us, we're supposed to be binded. That is very premature. That's very non-directionally patriotic, but it is also hampering on the minister who's going to run the shop. Because we don't have an economic return for sports like most countries do. South Africa, Egypt, Kenya, they put in the necessary investment, not as white elephant projects. They put in the necessary investment because there's an economic return, there's an ROI tied to it.
True.
When Ethiopians build a stadium, they are building a stadium to pick the next 10,000 meter runner. Football can be played there, but they understand that all these people jogging up and down the streets of our town, we need to put them somewhere, and we need to start harnessing that return on investment. So they actually turn that place into a training camp where people come, pay money, use it, facilitate, train. People from Nigeria, people from everywhere in the world, they go to certain towns and areas in Kenya and Ethiopia because of the altitude to train. So the Ethiopians now put in an economic value to the building of a stadium and the building of a hotel 500 meters from the stadium, because they want to put a 60-room hotel so that Igbo athletes can stay there and then cross the street and get into the stadium and train at 3,000 meters altitude. And that return on investment is calculated. And what happens when you do that? Oh, a hospital follows, a clinic follows, athlete rehabilitation center follows, and you begin to see all these allied areas that some people will say that they want to go and convalesce, or a lot of European Olympic athletes are in Ethiopia, heading to Ethiopia and Kenya right now to go and rest, whilst still training and exercising, and they're paying hard currency to do that. That's the missing gap for Nigeria, because then you now put in someone who is now going to work under decrees that were transformed into laws that are just they're just restrictive. They're very restrictive, and they don't put sports and pivot sports in the right position for a country that is 1 in 4 black persons in the world is Nigerian. So one of your capacities that you have to sell to the world is people. You have people to sell. Look at Jamaica, that has the same bloodline and blood group with us. They're 3 million, but 300,000 people are registered on their athletics platform, because you are registered as from primary 6. So as you go through life, whatever you want to do, whether it's cricket, athletics, or basketball, you are caught in the system early on. And the country begins to calculate how much is the return on investment for this human being, as we have put in money since primary school on this person. So even if he's going to America and relocating to America, the country will help you. You want to go to university, you've got some sense, and you want to go to university, you want to go to Florida, we will help you. But the link is never broken, because the country is the one that's going to take you to Europe, where you will start earning money and bringing your forex back into the country. That's why majority of Jamaican athletes have property and investments back in Jamaica. So when you see all of this, and you come into a current Sunday direct position, you would know that it's either you destroy the system completely and redesign something that will work for us in this environment, or you continue, no matter your good intentions. Honestly, you will still fail.
Okay, so
because the system is rigged for you to fail.
Let me cut in there. So now because you are closer to the action, because most times it is the guy on the court and the guys on the bleachers. That's what we have in Nigeria. The guys on the bleachers will always tell you, oh, he doesn't know how to put the 3-point. He doesn't know how to see the bucket. If it was me, I would do better. And then you get there and you find out that as close as the free throw line to the basket, the rim is, it is also that very, very easy to miss it. As close as the 12-yard line penalty spot to the goal is, and there's only one person standing there, it's also very easy to kick it over the bar, like we saw yesterday in the FA Cup. So now, you have gotten the bleachers experience, and you've also gotten the front row center experience. In the US, you will see people who are sports lobby group. Same in Europe, in the UK, for instance, and all that. At what point would people like Dr. Mike Enahoro and his like minds who've been privileged to see how it is done out there? I mean, the statistics you're calling from Jamaica and other parts of the world, these are not cooked up statistics. These are fact, hard fact. And it takes somebody who's studied, who's done research to know this. It means that, in the words of TD Jakes, if people know better, they will do better. Conversely, if people don't know better, they can't do better. So what are the things that we need to do? Because we seem to be repeating the same thing and expecting something different. What are the things we need to now do to, first of all, abrogate those decrees that have come in form of law, and then set up the right laws and policy that would now lead to us setting up structures? If it means we failing in the next 10 Olympics, but there is the hope that after the 10th one, the 11th Olympic to come, we will not have that structure, the kind of structure that people like Jamaica. I used to say because we don't have money, but Jamaica doesn't have money. Ethiopia doesn't have money. Kenya doesn't have money. There are countries that doesn't have half as much money as my state, Delta State, have, but they go to the Olympics and people are afraid of them. But when we go to the Olympics, we are praying, we are asking the blood of Jesus, we are asking God to save us from embarrassment, self-implosion, and all that. So what can be done so that we get to the pedestal where I'm not talking of America now. I'm not even getting into that utopian state. What can be done for us to get to the Jamaican state, the Ethiopian state, the Kenyan state, so that we start to get ROI, return on investment, on our sports?
Okay, let me paint one picture for you that is going to be very sad. I can tell you that about 6 previous NFA and NFF chairmen and presidents have tried to get a law that puts NFF into Nigerian law books. So you want to put a federation on the laws of Nigeria, creating a specific law that says this thing has to exist. Now, you're forgetting that this is the same guys that if government steps in, somebody in Zurich would have a heart attack if government steps in. But you have a guy like Amadou Pinnick pushing for a law to come through. And then somebody will get up tomorrow, a senator will get up tomorrow and challenge that law and challenge why you are sitting down there and tell you to get out of that seat. And then you run to Zurich and call Zurich and say you are interfering with football. You see, if I were the president of this country, I would throw that law out of the law, because you already have laws that protect the NFF if it is a private institution. That is called KAMA. You go to CAC, you register yourself, you give yourself the terms and conditions that you want to abrogate under the laws of Nigeria. You are protected once you are a properly duly registered organization. You want to partner with the Ministry of Sports because the sports has the policy and the rules of how football should be played in Nigeria, and you are regulated in Nigeria under the law. Since you are a KAMA registered organization,
Absolutely.
you have to now register to the Ministry of Sports and you'll be given the license to operate in Nigeria. Same as the Premier League and same as the English FA. Yes, the English government now says, yes, we understand that you are the regulator. So you are the next NCC. Sit up here like NCC, but you're a private organization that we have relationship with, because Nigerians are the ones that are going to be there. So you have to adhere to Nigerian labor law. You cannot pay anybody lower than minimum wage. You cannot, you have to give these people time out. So there are laws. So there's a law already guiding what NFF should do. But why are they going to make this law? It's because they want federal government subvention. So you have just killed football. By waiting for money from the federal government, you have just killed football. Because if it is developmental, there's a Ministry of Social and Football Services that can organize football league that is recreational for you and me with big pot bellies to go and play on Saturday evening. Our Saturday football that is organized by our yes, that's under Ministry of Sports.
True.
Following the same templates that we are taking from the NFF, that football should be played like this, the Ministry of Sports can organize recreational activity. But when you're going to get a law, you have just killed football in Nigeria. Because again, you are bound by the ethics of the government who has given you that right to now become a law, so that you become a portion of government. And you cannot do that. Because once you do that, the government will step in, because the government is going to be funding you. The government is going to be responsible for you. So you cannot come and quote when you are in trouble that you are running over to Zurich to say Nigeria is going to get banned. Football is a private business under strict rules and guidelines. The English FA was given the authority by the government to organize football in England, same as everywhere else. It's just an authority. But what happens in that space? The government does not care except you begin to maltreat its citizens. And if your game is not in good terms and in good alignment with the government expectations. So why do you want to come and make a law inside the government books? Because you want to collect subventions, and subventions limit private sector investments. Because private ownership is now going to, when I finish registering with CAC, I now have to go and jump on top another thing again, and because it is by law. No. So once you go government way, you now limit. So everything you do now becomes a problem, because the government has the right to interfere. And that is what the bane, and this cuts across not just NFF, it cuts across all organized sporting activities across the country. Because everybody is expecting a subvention at some point. And when you start doing that, the private sector does not see any space for itself to participate in your space. Because you are not following laid down international business standard rules that because you are an association, so you are not registered. So when I give you money, I have to go and hold my hand that nobody in there is going to follow standard business practice rules of reporting, accounting, and auditing, and utilization of the money, and return on investment potential being met, and timelines being met. So when the private sector doesn't see that, they don't want to put money in a space that is very murky and not clear. And that's because you are receiving subvention from the government.
Okay, so let's switch that to the AFN. I'm going to come back to the LMC, the NFF now, but we're just coming from the Olympics. So let's switch that same. Is that the same problem with the AFN? Because let me read this thing for
Yes.
you. A certain fellow wrote something about our participation in this last Olympics. And first off, we saw a video that was trending that was painful to me. One of our athletes, one of the shot putter also, was washing his outfit at the Olympics. This is the Olympics. I thought, see, I play professional football, and going into major tournament, you're going to do show off. Apart from the game itself, there is the game, and then there is the show. The show is I've got new boots, new sneakers, new running shoes, extra jerseys that apart from playing, I would take home to go give my friends and my family members, and I'll share so that they know that, look, I participated in this competition. Now somebody goes into the Olympics. This is the zenith of athletics competition. You don't get, this is the Zeus. This is heaven of sports. And you go there, when you're done running, sweating, instead of you to even pull it and throw it out, you're running against time to say, let me go and wash it and dry it and hope that it dries up before my next sports. First, what is your take on that as somebody from the inside? How low can you get to that level?
As painful as that is for all of us, and every time I hear this statement, I just respond by saying, what would have happened if that guy reached that thing as he was throwing, or as he was standing next to one of the counters over there and the stuff ripped? Would we now have to go into getting the one used by one of the girl wrestlers to be able to bring for him to use and for him to be able to wash with? And that now becomes a problem for me, because yes, these are logistic issues that should be handled and taken care of. So I wouldn't want to dignify that very challenging thing with a response. Anybody who is involved in that needs to be brought out. Whoever is handling the logistics of this needs to be brought out, and we need to get to the bottom of that quickly. Because again, you are demarketing Nigeria. It means that the strategy going into all of this did not contend with the fact that wear and tear in a competition like this demands that we give each athlete multiple outfits,
equipment,
so that whatever you used in running in your first heat is not what you're going to wash and wear and utilize again when you're going into your semifinals. What if somebody gets an infection from the soap that they use to wash this thing and makes your body not even contend with anything? And just the psychological effect of having something new to wear to go and doing this, and just like you said, keepsakes, and you go into this. There's enough for us to be able to ensure that we have supply for the athletes, especially if they made it into the finals. We should be giving them new stuff as well once you make it into the finals, and say, look, what if we decided to go with another shade of green for people who contended and won in the finals that were already approved by the IOC? It's just so let's not even get there. It just shows and is evident of the fact of the chronic nature of the malaise that has happened in our sports administration, because this is an administrative function. The logistics of making sure athletes get kits is an administrative function that by now, like every other country in the world, you should have had this thing on lockdown.
Okay, so let's touch on catering for our athletes. athletics is not like football. In football, I've always said, I mean, there's a statistics of a guy who played 90 minutes in a football match in the South African league, and he didn't kick the ball once, but his team won. So
Yes.
he will collect bonus like the other people who played. In athletics, it is what you do. So the last time, there was a time ago I interviewed Blessing Akagbari, and it was revealing about the fact that as an athlete, you're responsible for paying your coaches, your medical staff, and all that. Just imagine hypothetically that the Nigerian athletes don't have any sponsor at all. None of them have sponsors. So they are doing this in conjunction with their family. And going abroad is a function of scholarship. You're a person who benefited from scholarship, so you would understand that. In conjunction with their families, medical care, taking care of themselves. As Nigerian, somebody who's been in athletics, as Nigerian Sports Ministry, the NOC, and the AFN, is there a room to say, look, we're going to Paris in 3 years' time? Right now, every month or every quarter or every 6 months, we would give our targeted athletes, because there are some athletes. Esebroma is going to be there unless something terrible happens. Esebroma is going to be there in 3 years' time. Divine Oduduru, Blessing Kagbari could also still be there, and a whole lot of these guys that were here. Is there a national policy from the sports ministry that says this is a subvention that we give to them because budget comes in to prepare them, that not triggers the expectation that we always have on this athlete? Because I'm kind of like thinking we're hanging this athlete to die. Let me give you a good example, and it will sound negative. I was playing for Dolphins, Eagle Cement, sorry, and a coach was working us like slave. And we sat down, and when we're in the field playing, he'll be shouting, "Hey, can't you do this? Can't you do that?" And I remember my teammate said, "If he easy, well, we're called do him now." So that kind of, if he easy, well, we're come do him, that's the kind of position we're putting our athlete right now. We don't fund them, we don't support them, we don't groom them, we don't prepare them, and then we put expectation. What if we give Nigeria the right to have expectation on our athletes when we're not paying them? When they say that he who pays the piper dictates the tune, but right here we're not paying the piper, we're detecting the best tune from the piper. Is there a budget and then somebody's eating it? I want to know.
So we for the last 40 years we put the cart before the horse, because we've made funding come directly from government, and then the associations are so handicapped because of some association regulations. Is a 1.5 page. There are regulations. Some associations, some sporting associations, I happen to have read through a lot of it. If you go to the States, it's worse. Their regulations are 1.5 page, stripped from the international, stripped from other places, and just make 1.5 page of stuff and just change the name of the state. Even if you go through some self, they will get mistake in them, because whoever wrote the first document made a mistake and they just took it through and copy pasted it all through. So it's again, that's how your associations are built. And then because of subventions that are not recorded earnings or recorded monies, they come in, and then when they come in, there is no accountability. It's just to photocopy the template of what the accountant has done for this year, take it and send it back to the ministry, and that is what is going on. The ministry pays salaries for most of the staff that work in the association's bodies.
Yeah,
they're civil servants. They're civil servants. They're civil servants. So the country is contributing. So the country is paying the staff salaries of majority of the association staff to keep the lights on, to do this and give you a building or a house or a location where you can do that.
But it is the salaries. It is the salaries of people that were paid that were not able to do out of competition doping test. Am I paying?
Well, it's not a question. No. You must, like you said, the piper is taking care of the most important thing in Nigerian sports, which is paying the salaries of the people. Did you understand me? Because this is a subvention body. This is not a body that is set up for private sector to participate and invest in. So what do we? Body that the most important thing for them right now is not to go and pay doping test. If doping test is always going to come head on against salaries will win any day.
Okay, so what do we need to do for Nigeria as a country? And I'm not solidarying this one or Gusoing this one or Sheudiko or anybody now. What do we need to do? Because every successful country in any competition, athletes are put first. And by athletes, I mean whether footballers or whatever sport, they are put first. Mm-hmm. What do we need to do under the same circumstances that we are in to put athletes first? Because for my concern, maybe because I'm coming from a former footballer perspective, what do we need to do to put athletes first? Because whether we like it or not, Sunday Dare got all his allowances. Guso gets all his extra codes and allowances, but I don't think it's the same thing for our athletes. Preparation going into this and that, because I've seen people collect inconvenience allowances. All right, what do we need to do to make Blessing Okagbari, S.A. Brume, Divine Oduduru, Oboro Dudu, Tosi Amoshu, Toby, all of these people be the number one priority? Then whatever is left, Sunday Dare and his group can collect.
But it's not a question of Sunday Dare. You see, the system is funny. Does Nigeria know who they are? These people you just mentioned, this wonderful men and women. Does Nigeria, in a formal setting, Nigeria accords them the right of citizenship? Every other thing else, as they come into the sporting environment, you have to follow laid down rules. And if they follow laid down rules, you will find out that the sports ministry and the associations have not broken any rule. Based on the rules that they are following and the rules that set them up and the rules that govern them, they've not done anything wrong. Because there's no place in the rule book that says that, bring NFF rule that says that you must give $10,000 to any Super Eagles person that you are calling to become an international. He must collect salary from the federation so that he keeps himself. There's no rule book. What is the Olympic development plan for Nigeria from the NOC?
That is a question that I'm not asking.
NOC ever given us? No. That's so. What do we need to do right now?
So, Dr. Mike,
here's my suggestion.
I'm already aware of that. Where the solution? I already know that there are no rule books.
I'm sorry that I'm going long-winded because again, this is very emotional for me as well.
I know.
The suggestion is this. My suggestion is this. It starts at the top. Mr. President needs to understand what sports means to Nigerians and to the Nigerian economy, so that the draft policy, the draft policy and the placement of that policy in the highlight of the Nigerian economy from Ministry of Finance is not placed as a social service that anything where we get remain we give to sports. No. This is a revenue earner for Nigeria, and this is a GDP targeting environment that National Bureau of Statistics will be tracking different aspects of it. So Mr. President needs to understand that, so that when you create a policy on sports, the same way you did for the
petroleum industry,
banking sector,
the banking industry,
the petroleum industry, the banking industry, the telecoms industry,
even the creative industry,
the health. The creative industry, Nollywood, the same way you have to do for sports, and give it a GDP tagline, so that we can be talking to Adidas to open a shop or open 2 factories, one in Kano and one in Aba, and those things are going to take on 40,000 people because 10,000 people work, 20,000 people each work in that factory, and then there will be 300 allied suppliers that are supplying that factory, and that builds another 10,000 people in each location. That you've taken 50,000 people off the employment line in just because you brought in 2 factories.
Okay, right now we have only 5 minutes on the show, and in this 5 minutes, I'm going to let you draw out a sports, because I've been an advocate of sports policy all my life. Since 2004, I came into media. One of the constant word that I've always used is the reason why Nigerian sports is suffering, whether in football that people say gets a lot and other sports, it's the lack of a valid national sports policy, right? All federations or associations are attaché. You know, when you invite me to your party and I brought my friend, you're responsible for me, but you're not responsible for my friend. Nigerian sports, it's like that friend that I brought. Out of consideration, you say, okay, come to my party, but you're not really obligated to entertain or give that person anything. How do we not draft a sports policy that will capture that my friend I brought to your party as a VIP guest? What do we need to do? This is a question of the what now. Let's leave out the problem. What do we need to do?
The sports policy, I think there's an existing sports policy, but it is very, very limited because we drafted it in 2009 under Goodluck Jonathan, and it sailed through and it is existing. It needs to be updated. It needs to be updated and it needs to be driven on the private sector drive and put it in the line item and one of the 7 priorities of Ministry of Finance to make sure that every other aspect of that, in terms of merchandising, in terms of production, in terms of people participating, return on investment, and people getting money out, making serious money out of sports like they do in telecoms, if you don't put it that way, then we haven't started. Because that is going to affect the structures of what your associations are looking like, because we need to get the associations off government's books so that the kind of people that go in to become association chairmen, well, Laporta is a very big businessman. He's a very big businessman in Spain.
Yeah.
And he's now the president of, so he's not going there to go and steal money. He's not going there to steal money. He's not going there to look for salaries. He's not going there he's going to uplift Barcelona because this is a passion. And he's willing to put his own money on the line when they have to go and use it to buy players and guarantee. So the kind of way you now set up the associations, they don't become associations, they become business units. Then you have the National Lottery Trust Fund that is set up to be able to do good causes by taking monies that were given to it. Why can't we do the same thing that we're doing in NCC right now for sports using the National Lottery Trust Fund, the same way they did it in England, Jamaica, South Africa, and everywhere else? Why is the National Lottery Trust Fund standing on its own? It's got to have a goal that is saying this is the return on investment. We are going to take 20,000 Nigerians, and you, National Lottery Trust Fund, because you are collecting money from Bet Nigeria and everybody else at the Liberty TV, you are going to take that money and you are going to use that money to be able to give Blessing Okagbare and Enoch Adegoke a training grant of $10,000 every year, and his $1,000 must get to him on the 15th of every month. Because you're getting money from the bet shops, you're getting money from all the telecoms companies that are giving you money, and it's 1% you're collecting that revenue on a monthly basis because you're tracking what those people are making out there. But you are putting that money in making sure that Nigeria, for the next 36 months, we are not worried where Enoch is going to be training, because we know his training grant is $10,000 a year. So he will pick his training grant.
It is that fund that I'm digging at right now. And I hope there's no sniper on my head, because they say that once an activist begin to talk about money, a sniper will be on his head. So now the thing is, that fund right now that they are not giving it to Enoch Adegoke, they are not giving it to Toby Amosho, they are not giving it to Ese Brume or Blessing Okagbare. What are they doing with that money right now?
They're doing a lot of other things as well, because everybody is going there to ask for it. The fund is not being useless, not at all. But you do not have the policy structure that links the fund as a return on investment to support GDP growth, using Enoch and making sure that when Enoch wins, we can go and sign a contract with Adidas, because Adidas now knows that there are 40,000 Enochs sitting down in Nigeria, because your throughput is coming out of Delta. What we are producing in Delta, Edo, Lagos, and all these other things should be able to attract Puma to come and build a factory over here, because they can see that there are 20,000 of your kids running up and down. They should be selling jerseys to them at $2 a pop. But if you do not raise a lot more Enochs, a lot more Ese Brumes, let there be 5 or 6 of them competing all over Europe. 5 Ese Brumes because National Lottery Trust Fund has been linked into the development of the Ese Brumes in this country, and it is in part of the law. It is a law. It is in the policy, and the return on investment of that is tracked by the performance of the 5 Ese Brumes and the amount of companies that are coming to Nigeria to invest their monies in selling product and producing products out of Nigeria. If you cannot make that trace and that link, then you haven't started. You haven't started. This is going to be another time-wasted effort, and we will go another 4 years, and we will mess up in Paris, and Los Angeles it will even be worse.
All right. Finally, I conclude right now by saying that, in the words of Martin Tyler, when we had that last interview, this interview will be continued. We can't end this conversation here, but then the time for the show is over. Thank you very much, Dr. Mike Enahoro, and I want to say massive thank you to my production team, Kalijaya Ahmed, as well as Cecil Harris, aka Siko Blade. I just hope that when we call you next, because I really not exhausted this conversation the way I want to. There's still a lot of digging that I need to, but thank you very much for opening a window for us to look into subsequently in our own conversation, where we need to look at that National Lotteries Fund and how to tie it to a GDP return on investment to our athletes. Because for me, I think that Nigerian athletes are some of the best in the world. If against all odds, without proper preparation, without anything, they still get to semi-finals and finals. I'm just imagining for once that if we give them something that makes them obligated to say, this thing where this person give me, so I need to do something. Because this guy's like, oh God, these guys are battling on their own. They take care of their medicals, their psychological, their emotional, physio, everything on their own, and they still come represent Nigeria. And when they come right in face of competition, they get treated like dead. Refugees are even treated better than these athletes, but then they still get to medal podium. They still get to podium for us. This is beyond miracle. Even God is, I'm sure God is shocked that our athletes can be this kind. If all our athletes don't make heaven, then there is problem in the way God consider people that will make heaven anyway. But thank you very much for your time, Dr. Mike Enahoro. We would have this conversation subsequently in a couple of weeks' time again, and we would flesh some of the skeletal structures that you put in place. But thank you very much for your time, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good day today, and I wish you well.
All right, you too.
Yes. And thanks for inviting me. I deeply appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
You are listening to Elegbete TV Radio.